Hi, this is Lynn, and welcome to another Persuasion Byte. Bite-sized tips on persuasion that you can use right away. Advice does interesting things in our brain, whether we're giving or receiving. Let's start with the receiving. When you receive unsolicited advice, your unconscious mind perceives this as someone who is more experienced or higher ranking dictating to you what you should do. And when that happens, your amygdala, which is in charge of keeping you safe, gets activated. And unsolicited advice has been called the second most threatening thing that your amygdala can perceive. What ends up happening then is that those who wish to motivate us to do something, they actually demotivate us because we feel less competent and more dependent when someone gives us unsolicited advice. For those on the giving end, however, giving advice actually makes them feel better about themselves. Yeah, and you know this from every person who's ever given you advice that you really didn't want. But here's the research behind it. A group of 300 middle school students were split into two different groups. The first group of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders were asked to write their best piece of advice for learning vocabulary words and staying motivated, and handing this off to 4th graders. The second half of the group received the best advice from their teacher on how they themselves could be more motivated to learn more vocabulary words, and then they were asked to write a response. Here's the fascinating thing that happened. The students who gave advice to the 4th graders suddenly became more interested and invested in learning vocabulary words themselves. They motivated themselves, frankly, more than they probably motivated those 4th graders. And the other half of the group who received probably a higher quality of advice from their teachers, no change in motivation from them. What does this mean to us as leaders? Two things, really. First, do not give unsolicited advice. If your goal is to help people do a better job, then asking them if you can give them feedback on something. And if they say no, then don't. And if they say yes, make sure the situation feels better about it, and that you can be with them to work with them to feel motivated about this advice. Otherwise, don't do it. Frankly, use the second tip here, which is when you want to motivate someone to do a better job, ask them for their advice. Because now, suddenly, they are more invested. They feel more like an expert. And when they have that feeling, they're more likely to do a better job. So, if you want to be the most persuasive person in the room, don't give people advice. Ask them for it instead. Thanks for watching.